thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. The meeting will be starting shortly. While we wait, let's learn more about Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope
absentees, and then maybe the members can just give their name who are attending in person here. We had Nico apologize for being absent today. Likewise, Kristen. And Chris may be joining us late via Zoom, but obviously he'll be yes or no whether he's able to join us later, but he'll hop on Zoom if he does. Adam, did you just want to mention your name?
Sure, Adam Dunville.
Jackie Ojala.
I'm Bev from Beverly Tappan.
Thank you. All right, so we have 4 of us in session, and calling the meeting to order. We don't have any attendees via Zoom for public comment. So just since there's 4 of us anyway, we can go ahead and look at the minutes that we had from June the 1st, 2020. Unfortunately, our July meeting had to be cancelled. So were there any amendments or changes to the June minutes?
I thought they were fine.
All right.
Move to accept.
Second. Thank you. All right. There were a couple of, I think, action items on there for me. I think we all voted to submit to the Budget Committee for the position of a systemic coordinator. I'm just putting together a covering sort of an amendment to the whole package to submit. Explaining again why we are looking to submit that, and I will share with the committee members before I send it on to the Budget Committee. But that will, I'm hoping to do that by the end of the week. So hopefully you'll receive that, and then you can give us any other input or comments on that before we submit that to the Budget Committee. Okay. All right. So on the agenda item I had, it's the Swayze Park as an agenda item, and that this was a conversation that at the moment we know that Swayze Park is closed to traffic, and the select board decided that it would stay closed to traffic till September, till
I think
Labor Day.
6th or something, right? Labor Day.
Labor Day.
Yeah.
And yet we have this farmer's market on it.
So I think there is some conversation that people are having in town whether it should go for permanent closure and make it a park as opposed to a
I hadn't thought of that.
So I just wanted to open up that sort of thought process and the conversation by the committee to looking at the environmental benefits of it being closed to traffic and how that would impact the town and encourage residents to use the green space, make it safer and so on, and also the potential for having events on there more often.
And yet they have to be able to drive in the case of the vendors, for instance.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of thing is okay.
Yeah, but for through traffic,
Right.
it will be closed. So I don't know whether I don't know if Dave can let us know, but I don't know whether the select board will be looking at the impact the closed park has had so far to the town. I know it was closed for COVID reasons, but whether there is any other additional information that will be gathered in terms of the benefit of closing the road through traffic.
I have not been involved in those conversations. I was at the meeting the other day when they discussed it, but
Yeah.
that's all I really know, that they extended it to, Labor Day, that the language in the deed specifies, calls out that it shall be open to recreational vehicles. So I know they talked about exploring what that meant when it was written a long time ago. So they're moving forward with the discussions on it, but that's all I know.
Okay.
I don't know, any specifics beyond that.
All right.
I mean, Nico would probably be the best
Person to ask.
Yeah,
Okay.
he would be able to fill us in.
So if there was a permanent change, would that be a town vote, like in the March election, or do you think, or would it be a different process entirely of?
What I heard, that's what I thought I heard.
Right.
At that meeting, and also there's some language with the deed and going to probate potentially, was put out there,
Okay.
but I don't know if anything's been set in stone.
Okay.
I think the conversation is just kind of in its infant stages, and they haven't nailed down the process, but I thought I heard, did you watch that meeting? I thought I heard
I
that.
saw some of it, I didn't see, yeah.
I thought it would be, but I'm not exactly sure what the process is.
Okay,
At
all
this
right.
point, and I don't know if anyone really specifically knows every step right now,
Okay.
but they're having conversations with legal counsel and so forth to try to figure out the
Okay.
path forward if that's what people choose to move forward with.
So I think for us as the Sustainability Advisory Committee, maybe, at the moment, just sort of have ideas in terms of the impact of it being closed through traffic, and looking at it from an environmental and sustainability point of view, both socially as well, traffic flow-wise, so that we can then maybe put suggestions forward or take a vote on our sort of stand on it when it comes to more information needed by the select board, and also if it goes to a warrant article for the March election, whether we would support such a position or not. So I think that it would be something useful, and I know some of the other committees are also discussing the issue with Swayze Park. So
Okay.
it'd be good to have some thoughts from committee members on that.
But you're postponing the discussion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we can. I mean, if you've got something to
I
add
know.
now, you can.
No. The only thing that occurred to me is it's safer as far as little kids running out from their parents across the road. I mean, there is a safety factor,
Yeah.
but I haven't had any other thoughts on it yet.
Yeah. So, all right. So we'll keep that sort of ticking away as a conversation, if that's okay. Dave, did you want to pick up on the single-use plastic issues?
I just wanted to circle back because I did everyone get the draft? Were you on board when I sent out the draft
Yeah.
of the policy? Everyone, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I asked this to be on the agenda. I didn't want it to kind of, fade away, and I wanted to keep it, in the forefront. One thing I was tasked to do was call Portsmouth and find out about implementation, and I've been unsuccessful so far finding someone who is responsible for implementation. I spoke to their planning and sustainability office, and they bumped me to DPW, and I talked to DPW, and they didn't really know anything about it. So I haven't found anybody that is actually implementing it. So I'm still working on that, but that I didn't want to, not put it on the agenda to see, has anyone had a chance to review it, and kind of did you, if you want to move forward with pursuing it, then we should come up with some sort of action
Yeah.
plan, how we're going to inform the public, because you probably want to get, eventually it's going to go to the select board for review. So just wanted to keep that on the radar screen, and how do you want to move forward, if you want to move forward with it, to potentially get it in front of the select board for consideration. And what we were talking about, what I gave you a copy of, was the municipal, because Portsmouth adopted two. They adopted a citywide ban on single-use plastics, and on public spaces, like outdoor restaurants and so forth, that had space on the sidewalks and so forth. But then also, and a municipal side, like any events that they had, any ballparks, any, recreation concession stands, so forth. So I think it was the committee's desire just to maybe look at the municipal-only policy, and that's what I provided everyone. So I just wanted to keep it on the forefront and, maybe have a discussion about how you want to move forward.
But I know Maine passed a ban on bags, was it? I'm not sure.
There's been a few places that have
Yeah.
done bags. I think one of the southern Maine towns, I forget which one, recently did it
Yeah.
as well.
So,
The whole state of Vermont, too.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's useful because the more that happens, the more it will have an influence on the plastic manufacturing
Factory.
companies, and they will begin to think seriously about changing their products.
Yeah, and it can just get people on people's minds, and, that it's out there. I don't think, what I'm hearing, I wasn't hearing effectuate trying to state law changes. I thought, we were working on a municipal policy that just applies to Exeter. I mean, we can, you can do both, but,
No, I think,
Just Exeter, just Exeter.
yeah.
Yeah,
that's,
no,
all right, yeah.
I think there is more mileage and probably more impact to do it for the town.
Okay, yeah.
So for example, at the moment there is like an event happening at Swayze Park right now. Is that, I don't know who's organised that, but
That would be covered.
that would be covered under the single, so
Yeah, any municipally owned property, the way it's written, the draft I
Yeah.
provided you, that was basically, which was, not basically, was the Portsmouth
Portsmouth one,
model, is any town-owned property. And any events, whether they're private, events or not, they would have to comply with this policy if it was adopted. The issue always becomes enforcement. Who would be out there monitoring that and enforcing it? Well, we're going to talk about that when we move forward. But it would apply to,
Okay.
the way it as written. It wouldn't just be city or town-sponsored events.
Right.
It would be any event on town property, on any town property. So, I mean, it could, the way it's written, vendors on the sidewalk, vendors on public property. Mobile vending is being discussed.
Just, yeah.
That would, the way it's written would fall under. So maybe we'd want to go through all that and make those, determinations so we can inform the public if we move forward with this, what impact it will have and who it does affect and impact. Right now, it affects anybody at Swayze, anybody at any of our parks, any concession stands, any events, at the rec park. Like there was a pickleball tournament, I guess, a couple weeks ago
Right.
down there, that would be affected. And we'd have to somehow weave it into our application process. So when we, they would have to know about it.
About it, yeah.
So when we got there, we'd have to have some educational component or some way when people come to we put it on the application, and attach it to the application saying, you must, by signing it, I acknowledge I've read the single-use plastic policy and, we'll abide by it and so forth.
yeah. So would we, just sort of thinking further afield, I mean, I think most people would, when you mention single-use plastic, they normally go to the water bottle, right? So would we have a list of what is normally considered single-use plastic? So would we give examples of what we would expect that to fall under?
Yeah, I mean, you'd want to define it, but right now, I was told that single-use plastic, the water bottle that everyone thinks of, it's recyclable. So it's technically not single-use. The single-use plastics, as defined by Portsmouth, but I haven't confirmed this with them, but this is
Okay.
what I've heard, because I can't find out who's implementing it, is like the plastic forks.
Right.
The plastic utensils, the plastic
Cups.
straws, the plastic cups that are intended for, solely one
Yeah.
use. They're not, you throw them
Yeah.
away after, those. So if you wanted to include the water bottles and so forth, then you would write that into the ordinance
Yeah.
as, because you can define it however you want.
Okay. All right.
Would that, or does the way Portsmouth have it written include like schools as well?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my understanding,
Right.
it says all city property, so
Okay.
I'm assuming the city owns the school property, and it's not a separate, I'm not, if their school board's different, but I would
Right.
assume so. It's at all city property, and
Okay.
so I'm assuming they own the schools.
One of the, I think, was it Portsmouth High School? They did an amazing, I think there was a green club. The students did an amazing job at, in the food, removing the sort of the trays and plastic cutlery and so on that made it all, reusable.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was quite a powerful, yeah, they got write up about it and everything. They were quite powerful in doing that. So,
That's great.
all right. So what's our next steps with this then, Dave?
Well, I think everyone should review it, the policy, and then we can put it on the next agenda, and I can come, hopefully I'll get someone from Portsmouth to talk about their implementation
That would
and
be
so
great.
forth, and finances to your questions here.
Yeah.
Then I'll, and then we can kind of dive into, I mean, it's going to take a little bit, so
Yeah.
I'd want everyone to probably review it, mark it up, whatever. If you need a copy, let me know. I'll email you another copy, and we can sit down and have a discussion and write it. Like either say, okay, this
Let's do
language is
this.
good, or we need to add this language, and then once we finalize language, then it's about probably informing the public somehow and getting feedback on the potential policy. You probably don't want to go to the select board for,
Yeah.
maybe want to get some buy-in or, from the community somehow, and I don't know how, I'm not proposing anything at this point, but I'll think about it, is to get some feedback out there of, the support for this, and then it would be to the select board and, with a draft saying, this is what the process we went through, and we went out to the community and so forth, and we, recommend, adoption of this, if it makes it that far.
Okay.
So the next step is, next meeting, let's, I mean, if that's okay.
Yeah,
sit down and.
for sure.
And have like a work session, for a
Yeah,
bulk
so-
of the meeting on it,
Yeah,
so.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, we've all got copies of it, so we can just highlight what wording and so on, and then workshop that so we can get it going. That'd be good.
Okay.
I have no idea about communication update, so
Postpone.
we'll postpone that one for Chris and Nina to deal with.
Same on the 8th.
We
Just to let you know, I mean, I might be, you might already know this, but Julie left.
yeah.
Yeah, well, her term was over. It was 1 year, wasn't it?
Well, it wasn't
The
that, she
grant-
left the Rockingham Planning.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So Tim Roach, the, director, approached me about, shoring this up, and then we had, I had talked to him, and he had told me, okay, I'll, get back to you, we bought a little time or what have you, and then as soon as I knew this meeting was coming up, I said, hey, Tim, I hadn't heard, so I emailed him, he's out, he's on vacation, so,
Okay.
as soon as he gets back, I already emailed him saying, any update would be appreciated, but that's all I have now. At
So we
this
haven't-
point, it's really in their hands, and I'm waiting to hear.
All right, so we'll need the update on the survey as well as the report that was due June 30th.
Yeah.
All right, okay. So we'll wait for that
I
one.
don't believe that had gotten that deadline. When I talked to Tim, he had talked to the state folks and got some time
Right.
on some things, so I'll know more once I hear
Okay.
back from Tim.
Okay, all right. All right. Any other business?
Yes, I have some thoughts.
Go on, Bev.
First, I noticed that coming up in September, the Energy Committee is going to do their annual demonstration of electric cars where people have a chance to try them out and talk with the owners, and it's a great, great thing. But it made me think, I read the same week that Norway is taxing electric vehicles at half price over the whole country. And it made me think that some kind of a tax incentive might be part of our future thinking. We already have it on the solar. Dave tells me that we do not tax on solar equipment. And I'm not saying don't tax at all, but maybe, I don't know, first year free and half tax after that or something. I don't know, some kind of an inducement. It'd have to be worked out what we could afford to offer. But just to offer something, I think, would be encouraging, and of course it's for the future. I also went to the climate, what did they call it? Climate Coastal Conference, something like that, in May. And there were three things that caught my attention. One was the potential, the value of potentially removing the Pickpocket Dam, which I know has already been thought of. I think it has, anyway. I thought I heard it had. No? Hasn't been thought of? You're looking shocked, so
by who? But I'm sure some people.
Not by.
No, what happened was my understanding is it got reclassified, and the town has to do some sort of analysis on it, and it's in the CIP to do.
Well, it's certainly up in the air.
Options, no option has been determined, decided upon. It's in the CIP. I think it'll go to the voters in March to create a report on, and just start that process of what will happen. Is it fix it or, do something to it? What does it need?
Well, that was my thought, that it would be part of our future thinking because things are going to get worse. And there was a time when Riverwoods was cut off from any access except by Pickpocket Road. So if that dam had been doing anything at that time, we wouldn't have been able to get staff or food or anything. That actually happened. I think it was 1 February. So it's an important thought to just keep in mind for future action, and you've already started that. And the other two things that stayed with me with the conference was that the wetlands are going to move inland. And I hadn't thought about that before. The ones that are right down by the water are going to be completely flooded. And so we need to think protectively of whatever wetland areas we have in general, just kind of looking to the future and trying to keep that part of it under survey. And sewers. I hadn't thought about sewers backing up, but apparently that is a very real threat as the water level rises. And so I'm sure that's already part of the thinking of the waste disposal people, because they have to think about it. But just it's something that has to be continued, and we have to identify where that's the most problem and so forth. I think with taking out the town dam, you have greatly decreased the immediate threat of flooding downtown. You remember the New Hampshire committee told us that there could be flooding right up to the campus of the academy with things as they were. But I think that has been postponed considerably by the removal of the dam, so we have more time. How fast the ocean will rise, I don't know, but downtown will be an issue sometime, perhaps. You may have to think about extra barriers and how do you protect the businesses down there and so forth. But it was just...
But the amount of rain we've had.
Just the sewers. Well, I hadn't thought about sewers, so that's an issue for future.
I think, seeing news reports of flash flooding in other countries.
Well, we had flooding in just a week or so ago in western and northern New Hampshire. I didn't know that was going to happen. I knew they were getting it down south, but we actually got some in New Hampshire.
Yeah, things moving along very quickly. All right. Jackie, did you want to mention
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up to the committee, last year we did a pumpkin composting event with Lainey and Lou. And it kind of like was a last minute thing. So as we're getting closer to that time of year, I didn't know if the committee's interested in me reaching back out to Lainey and Lou to see if they're interested in working with us again, or any thoughts or ideas on that before I reach out to her.
I think it's good publicity, and of course, the town is now collecting for compost and giving free compost back,
Yeah.
or at least at a reasonable charge, whatever it is. But anyway, the town is doing that, but your event shines publicity on that, so I think it's valuable.
Yeah, I think it's important, and hopefully this year, obviously Lainey Lou was being renovated last year, so it was closed. So it'd be nice to make it into like an event. You know, people will be there, and you know, we can talk to them about composting pumpkins, and maybe we can also talk to them about single-use plastics.
Yeah, I actually was just thinking that.
You know, would
Lenny
be
and Lou will have single-use.
People there.
We'll have no single-use.
no, they've got compostable containers which Mr. Fox takes. You know, so I think that's an added conversation piece. I think we can definitely use and do that. So if we can, yeah. So I think similar to what we did last year, if you can speak to Jen,
Yep.
like the 2 weekends post Halloween, when I don't know where it sits this year, but
Yeah, I think definitely right after. Do you think there's any use in spreading them out a little bit more? Like if people are keeping their like fall pumpkins up through part of November?
And they're decayed on their front porch.
yeah,
Exactly.
Oh, I would give them some time to keep them, but they should know that this is coming up.
Yeah, maybe like right the weekend
Set
after.
set
and
the
then
limit a little later.
weeks after that or something.
or maybe see if there's any, you know, say if we attended the event as committee members and hopefully got other volunteers to be there, so we could talk to them about the benefits of composting and then also single-use plastic issues. And then maybe say, you know, you can still come and drop your pumpkins off up until this date.
Okay, yeah.
You know, if Lainey Lou were accommodating with that, then they can still go and drop it off a couple of weeks after.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I
But
can definitely reach out to her and have some sort of update for
Yeah.
next month.
That'd be good. All right. Anything else? Anyone?
I was just curious, Bev, on your idea about the tax incentives for electric vehicles. Are you talking about registration fees here?
Could be. I mean, just some sort of a token monetary incentive, I think, is useful for all of the environmental additions that you might want to make, changes to your whatever. But I know right now it's the solar that Dave told me is not taxed, not added to the value of the building when it's assessed.
Those registration fees, do we know where they typically go? I mean, what are they?
That might be one way to do it. I really don't know.
Some go to the town, some go to the state.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly. That's not, you know.
Well, that's
town.
state, isn't it? That's not town.
Well, yeah, but a portion does go to the
Oh,
state.
oh.
Because like, you know, how we used to have to write checks, one to the state, one to the.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
how I know. And, but I don't know, I wrote that down, tax exemption on EVs, hybrids, can we do that, question mark. So I can try to find out what flexibility.
And it
if
doesn't have
we
to be total extension, or it doesn't have to be
No, I understand.
forever, but,
Yeah.
you know, that's all
Yeah,
up
just like
for
a
grabs.
10% or
Yeah.
15% discount on on the town portion of the registration fees. I mean, that can add up over the course of the life of a vehicle. But you know, you'd have to then offset
Every
it,
year, yeah.
probably. So it'd be
Yeah,
those
that-
folks that don't have
yeah.
the electric vehicles that are offsetting it to some degree. But you know, that's the idea, to encourage people to get those vehicles. I think that's a good idea. To look
I
into.
suppose there is another aspect, just occurred to me, charging posts. In the future, we're going to need more charging
Yeah.
posts, so that will
Yeah.
be something that will have to be figured out.
But I think
Yeah.
people are invited. They can put one in on their house,
Well,
on their
the
driveway.
cheap way is to do it in your own house, but
house,
then if you have other people going through town who don't happen to live here, well, then they have to be able to park and shop or do whatever.
But people can also come and they can come and use your charging.
At your house?
Yeah.
I don't think so at Riverwoods.
Well, I know there was
That's kind of neat.
I don't know.
Like Park Spot Hero, like it's a parking app in Boston.
Yeah.
And you go on and
You
and
can
someone's gone for the
Yeah.
day, they rent it to you.
Yeah, yeah.
It's almost like they could do that
Yeah.
with chargers.
I never heard of that.
You never heard of
I guess so.
No,
I guess
they're
Oh, that'd be
fancy.
pretty cool.
They've been doing that in Europe.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, must work then.
Yeah, I thought it was happening here as well, so that's why I thought. But I know there is sort of incentives like that you can.
Okay.
It's I don't know. There's X amount. It's not that expensive to put one in, and then you can be on, like you said, an app, and
Yep.
then people can come and use it.
I'll be darned. Okay.
Now, the Energy Committee has been looking into that. They actually had a site, or a couple sites in town. There was some Volce VW settlement funding
Yeah.
for it with the state, and they've been working on that. Nothing
Great.
definitive yet, but they're definitely on the same page with you, Bev, and they want to find places for public charges to go in. So, and then a lot of private sites are doing. Car dealerships have them. Right next door has one.
I was going to say that
for
there's
their
2
clients.
Tesla charging stations that just pop up in town
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I understand that Volkswagen that had to pay penalties has invested in them on the interstates, on the
Yeah.
big highways.
Well, that's
That's a
part of
great
it, because
help.
we were looking for funding because we're on 101. And we were looking at a site close to the highway. We were also looking at downtown, but it made more sense based on the grant criteria that we put one out, close to the Route 101 exchange. So that's what the Energy Committee's been working on.
All right. All right. Anyone else have anything else?
No.
No. That was a short meeting. All right. Motion to adjourn 7:38.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates.